Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. What's up? What's up? We're back for another week. If you guys aren't familiar with Answer the Call, it's a podcast with myself and Croncy. We talk about Star Citizen stuff and open up the calls to our Discord and, give voices to members of the community. A lot of podcasts are just content creators sharing their thoughts with each other. This one is trying to say everyone's opinion matters. So if you guys
Imagine
are new,
it like it's a 90s like local call-in show.
yep, that's what it was themed around, was sports radio. Like, you got the sports radio annoying personality guy, that was me, and then you have the callers calling in and be like, I don't agree, I agree, and then the radio guy would usually crap on them and then hang up on them and stuff. At least in my local area. But that's not what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be like, hey, people. It spawned from people didn't feel like they had a voice in the community. It was only content creators, and I was like, let's give the community a voice if we can. So yeah, get subscribed on YouTube if you guys haven't yet, and follow our channels on Twitch, because we do it live on my channel, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't follow Croncy on Twitch. You probably watch more than just the podcast. So yeah. What an intro. I said I was going to be good, and I wasn't. But this week, lots have happened. Not a lot of, I guess, Citizencon stuff has happened, really. Like, I think people are the high is coming down from Citizencon, and we're coming back to reality. And the reality is
for the next week and a half before
ship
IAE.
sales. Yeah.
The
reality is ship sales, and that's always the reality. How much time did you get with both the Polaris and the Starlancer?
Yeah, got to get in a good couple of hours today. Probably spent about an hour and a bit on the Starlancer, and then about 2 hours on the Polaris. So obviously, for those who don't know, on PTU, like 24 hours ago or 48 hours ago, whenever it was, they are doing their IAE PTU test like they normally do. But they released the Polaris and the Starlancer Max for people to fly around in. Obviously, probably the two biggest ships that we'll see at IAE. So,
yeah, and the Polaris has been cool,
super cool,
but it's not doing it for me as much as. Okay, it's a combat ship. It's got some capabilities that are pretty cool. They're starting to, like, the cargo bay area was really neat. There's some really neat stuff in there, right? The PDCs are cool, things like that, right? But damn it, yeah, I'm not going to be on top.
It's not a good podcast if you don't do that to me.
I'm not going to be on top of things right now, guys. So I don't know how your brain works when it comes to Star Citizen ships. Mine works one way and one way only. Can I use it with a small group of friends that would, or an org that would be doing mining, salvaging, that kind of stuff, right? So that ship is just never going to super appeal to me. But that cargo hold's pretty good for it. Not going to lie. Can fit two prospectors.
Yes, which is very, very cool. I do get that perspective, but like the most fun that I've ever had in the game has been like doing hammerhead shenanigans with a full crew, right?
I can't say I agree on that one. Like, I have not enjoyed that as much, but Mike, I can understand
if we kill our targets. So
I can't hit anything. So yeah, that explains why.
But yeah, I really, really love that sort of style of gameplay. But the only gameplay we've had that's in that realm has been the hammerhead, the retaliator to an extent, and that's kind of it. Everything else is like way too small, or like even the redeemer I think is like 5 crew. So
yeah, I love the redeemer though. That's one of the ones that
awesome.
Like.
It is awesome.
Really like, yeah.
It is good, but like the full, like, you need like 8 to 12 people. I love that idea and that sort of gameplay. So when I got on the Redeemer, and I was once again like, I'm not going to ever pay for the ship with money, but this will be one of the first ships that I try to make UEC for and mess around with, because I just love it. I think it's really, really cool. I love the turrets. I love the torpedoes. I love how this feels like a ship to live in with your org, not even just like you and your mates, like just a small org of like 10 people, right?
Yeah, the thing that
super cool.
always makes me feel that that answer is not true, and it's only one thing, is the hangar size. 10 people cannot leave this ship in 10 different ships. Like, you're in this ship.
10 Furies.
Well, okay, 10 Furies, but they can't quantum travel, right? Or do Furies quantum travel? Yeah, they can. So, like, that's what's always what really sold me one time was, I can't remember if it was Overdrive or the ticket event for the Idris. The Idris. That Idris hangar was like, that is an org ship for 10 to 20 people. Obviously, like, it can be for a lot more than that too, but that hangar was like, yes, I can put a number of ships into that hangar, and it could be a variety of ships, and it can work for an org. Ever since that, even ships like, I mean, this is the Starlancer, I think, but even ships like the Polaris just weren't doing it for me. I don't. Yeah, it's hard for me to
see that reason that you had for the Idris. I feel like the Polaris gets so close to that.
I
would say
the
Idris is on its league of its own. So, like, of course.
But like two prospectors in that ship with this interesting little cargo bay thing that they're doing is very intriguing to me. I don't want to knock it, but I'm still looking for it. I'm just pointing out that I'm still looking for that ship for me. I haven't. Maybe it's the Kraken or something. I'm not sure what it would be.
Probably the Odyssey or the Orion, like for you, because you wanted it to be more
mining based, industry based. It's probably the Pioneer, actually, to be honest, right?
Probably, yeah. But it does an amazing job. I love the hangar in this is awesome. As you can see, I think you're looking at a Scorpius sitting in the hangar of the Polaris, which is crazy. The size ships that you can fit in here is awesome. The animations throughout the entire ship are great. Even just like the small, I say small detail, but when it's such a large ship, it's kind of large details of how the engines sort of expand from the back, how the wings pop out, how the hangar door opens, how the torpedoes load into the torpedo bay. All of that stuff is super, super cool and awesome. So it just adds obviously to the immersion of the ship, which, while isn't number one priority, is always a big deal when it comes to flying these long term.
I feel like this is. I have not done, and let me know if you have. I have not done a whole lot of Save Stanton. For one, I don't want to spoil it for myself. For two, it's been horrible optimization. It's like super buggy. There's so many problems. So
we attempted one mission today
were ships teleporting still?
Desync was crazy.
Yeah. Okay. I'm over it. I don't care anymore about like even attempting it until it's on live. I think at this point, but I think they're doing that specific thing because this ship is going to dominate it. Right? Is like, hey, shoot a bunch of big ships with torpedoes is a lot of stuff. Obviously, there's some ground things, but look, I mean, you have this cool like ground vehicle bay and stuff like that. So I think it's an event designed to sell this ship in a lot of ways. Yeah,
I would be more inclined to agree with you if you could solo this ship like you could a Retaliator. But like one of the big bonuses of the ship is, in order to use the torpedoes, not only do you have to have someone else on the ship, but you have to have someone else in like completely the other side of the ship, or like on the underside of the ship, right? Making it a bit harder to do that sort of stuff. At the same time,
I mean more from the perspective of it's a ship that has cargo, and that's like one of the missions is defend the cargo ship that or get cargo, and then some ground stuff, and then some at the end it's like big blast an Idris down or something like that, right? I think. I actually don't know, but I believe that there are Idrises or an Idris or so in one of the missions. So yeah, I'm thinking like this ship is the perfect ship for all. Like it's like, okay, what can the ship do, and let's make missions that the ship can do, kind of thing is what it looked like.
Yeah.
But
which I mean, I wanted more big fleet combat anyway. So I don't hate that that's leaning that way. But yeah, I guess like not to mention the fact that you've got size 10 torps here, and it's kind of like, all right, we need a bit of a target gallery for you guys to actually show what size 10s can do, you know?
Yep. And they could do some damage. It's pretty wild.
They can. I am really underwhelmed by their animation, though. I'm not gonna lie. They sound great because they have like the little it's very like what I would imagine a cartoon of like a submarine in the 80s would sound like, where it's just like a as it like comes out of the front of the torpedo bay, which is very cool. But yeah, very slow similar to like size 9s. But when they hit hard. Someone said they do 750,000 damage.
Yeah, it's like ridiculous. Funny story about this ship. I paid. This is the ship that I was like, I'm done. I'm not paying any more money for. I bought this ship.
Like back when it came out, or
I bought this ship.
Okay.
I made a deal with Board Gamer. Board Gamer
Yep.
was going to buy the 890 jump. I was going to buy this, and when we needed them for content, we would swap. We would share.
Share them. Yep.
This was before, you know, you could rent them at IAE. Like none of that stuff existed, right? So we made this agreement way back when, and I had it in my buyback, right? So I pull it out of my buyback, but I have not used the pledge store in a very, very long time. And apparently you put in the store credit at the beginning, not at the end. I skip straight to the end, and I hit the back button on my mouse. It goes error code 404. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I'll just try again. It is not in my buyback. I cannot get the ship back. It doesn't exist anymore. It's in the void. It is in the center of the Stanton star right now. I cannot get this ship. I own the fucking ship. I have enough store credit, and I cannot get it.
Yep.
I had I had to borrow from a viewer.
Sometimes CIG don't want you to buy ships, guys, and I think that's a really important caveat.
So it's in my cart, but it's not in my cart. So my cart shows nothing, but there's something in my cart worth 750. But I cannot apply. I cannot go back to step 1 to apply store credit to it. It is not there. So yeah, I got to send in a ticket or something, right? But I'll get it fixed. It's just funny because I needed it right now. You know, I was like, I want to look at the ship now, and I can't have the ship now. And now I have to rely on somebody else's ship just to see it if I wanted to. So funny story. Like it'll get resolved. And it'll probably just end up back in buyback pretty soon. But the just a funny one. Starlancer. That's the one that I didn't think I hated it coming out of SitCon. And in combination with something else we're going to talk about today, I might love it. I think it's what I want for my org.
I don't.
All right.
We got different opinions on both ships today. It's great. I don't love the Starlancer. So you go first, though. What do you like about it? What's the deal? What sort of changed your mind about it versus when they revealed it at SitCon?
I mean, they revealed it at SitCon, but it didn't. I guess it didn't quite. I'm just gonna try and find, hopefully, where I'm going around it. I mean, I'm looking at it, but I'm not inside
Some great
of it.
engine effects. I love the little back,
the back engine,
Prospector back engine.
Yeah, really, really good. My thing is the cargo bay. So, like I said, I'm pretty hooked on the whole mining thing, especially right now after SitCon. Like just trying to get the mining org going. What's our processes, right? And this cargo bay is really interesting, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But they have recognized their problems with mining bags and unable, you can't put them on cargo grids, you can't get them off the freight elevators, you can't have separate mining bags and refine stuff. They put that out there in a post, and we'll go over it in a little bit later. But so assuming that all that stuff is going to work somewhat soon, then it's really interesting that the cargo bay of this ship looks like it basically fits mining bags perfectly and comes down and then goes back up. Like it just like logistically seems like it makes sense. also
Yeah, it's like what you like about the Ironclad, right? Where it's like it seems like it's designed
for the
for
game that we play today.
how the gameplay should be. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like they're learning how things work, and I think it was pretty
Yeah.
smooth. I was watching. You know what? I always forget this guy's name, but I love his YouTube channel so much. It's like Noobs Gaming, something like that. I'm probably just off by a little bit. This guy cargo hauls. That's all he does, and he was just kind of using it and was showing also that like it's a lot easier to protect your stuff because you don't have like a ramp down. Like you just pull it down, pull stuff off, put it back up, kind of thing.
Yep.
So yeah, and then you have the vehicle bay in the back, so you could do prospector mining while at the same time doing ROC mining, and then the prospectors can come drop their bags off at this thing, and yeah, you could do a lot with it, I think. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It all comes down to, does it make sense to put your valuable stuff in a Starlancer that you want to bring to a refinery that might be like camped by somebody, or would you do it in a Polaris or something that's a little bit more defendable or something like that, right? Yeah, so both seem really cool. It's just the Polaris is so much bigger and over the top that they both do the same things in a lot of ways, but I just like the vibe of the Starlancer where it's a lot of EVA, throw the stuff out from the outside in, and then it just goes up into the cargo bay instead of this whole like I gotta maneuver it through a ramp and drop it down, you know, that kind of stuff. It seems like a little much.
I think it's cool. Like I think most new ships have been cool. I don't think any of them have been particularly bad, but it's like I struggle to see where this fits in like my idea of a progression, because it feels like it
doesn't.
Yeah, it feels like it's too big physically and like sort of like crew requirements wise for what you would use it for.
Yeah,
which is just cargo most of the time. Obviously, we have the TAC to worry about soon, and the
BLD
build,
is why they made this
exactly
thing,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, so those opinions over the hull in general could change, but yeah, it just feels like it's in a weird spot for me. I do think they do a really good job. For reference, like you said, the cargo ramps on the sides are awesome. I love the living quarters in this. I love the like it is still also perfect MISC aesthetic where it's ugly as hell and it's bulbous, and I love it for that sort of stuff. But yeah, just as a ship for me to operate, not a huge fan. I did love a lot of the discourse in the community about just how large the dashboard is. Which has been very funny. Some people have gotten genuinely mad, but
I don't even notice
it's just funny. Yeah, exactly. It feels pretty much like the exact same as every, other than the Prospector, every MISC ship, you know?
It's weird to go from a Prospector to every other MISC ship. It's like, guys, like, you did good.
Hey, all you need to see is your quantum marker. You're not allowed to see anything else.
Yeah, I agree with you that it just, we're getting to the point where they're making ships to make ships, and it's not making sense in any sort of like progression path of why would it go from a freelancer to this or whatever, you know? Like
exactly, right? Like usually you would go from like freelancer to probably a Caterpillar, which has like a solid like 100 extra SCU over this.
No, double. This is two something.
Yeah, isn't Caterpillar 3? No. Yeah,
Caterpillar's 5
Raylan
something.
is 300, sorry.
Yeah.
566, but yeah, like you would usually step that little bit further, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just seems awkward to me, but that's okay. I am okay with us having ships that are a little bit more awkward, because then every time someone says, guys, they're making ships too good again, they've made a ship that's really good, I get to point back at a ship that's not as good.
Yeah, and we don't have, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have a lot of ships in the 200 and so SCU category. There's not too many. And
correct, yeah.
Again, going back to the YouTuber, again, I think it's Noobs Gaming. So, you know, if anybody finds this channel, feel free to link it in either the YouTube chat or the Twitch chat. But he was just pointing out something that I was like, you know, this guy does a lot of cargo and I don't as much. And it made a lot of sense to me was cargo running now isn't just missions. I don't think you guys want to watch me on the menu, so we'll go back to this.
Welcome to keep
cargo running is not just missions. It's also now buying up stock of good performing like commodities, like let's say gold, right? Gold's always been a very good one. And you'll buy up commodities, store them at your spot, and then fill your ships as you go. This ship is like that good. It's not a giant ship that takes forever to load, and it can fit quite a bit of cargo, and it again works really well in terms of interacting with the cargo spot, right? So it was like, I don't need massive ships to run cargo anymore. And it was like, yeah. All right, yeah, chat found it. So that Noobs Gaming SC, there you go. Just literally just plays the game, narrates over it a little bit, and is super chill. Those are the kind of YouTube that's the Star Citizen content that I watch, is just people who just play and are just like, hey, I'm doing a little mining today. Hey, I'm doing a little salvaging today. Hey, I'm doing a little cargo hauling today. And that's it. I just watch those guys. Yeah. And it's so just cathartic, I think is the right word.
Yeah, because you're watching people enjoy the game, Mike, because then you go and try to play the game and you're on the Evo PTU and nothing's working. And
and you're just like, yeah. But it's, I like, I'm going to say this is, I'm adding that content to my YouTube content. I'm going to do it. It's
good fun.
I've done it before. Embarrassment.
I was going to say, I just need 4.0 to come out so that there's fresh things to go and do.
No, you see,
I feel like I've done everything, so I can't really experience anything anymore. You know,
it doesn't even have to be fresh. It's just like I just want to go and just do just play and just get back to that again, because I want to say not just like, I love just mining. I love just salvaging. I love just cargo hauling. Those three aspects of the game I could do in a vacuum by themselves, and they're fun. I still strive for the more, like the reasons why I'm doing them a lot more, but yeah. But anyway, a little tangent there, but at the same time, it's like fitting why I'm starting to feel that ship a lot more than I thought I would. It was like, oh yeah, maybe this thing isn't so bad. It just was not resonating with me at Citizencon, but yeah.
That's fair.
Polaris is crazy.
That's what I was going to say. One thing we should talk about is, because we didn't mention it just before we started the pod, is in relation to the Polaris, a new mechanic has come into Star Citizen this week in the PTUs, which is the PDCs.
Yes.
So first active on the Phoenix, they now work on the Polaris. I believe I got confirmation from someone that they now work on the 890J as well. So automated turrets are shooting at missiles. Whether they're hitting or not is a matter of server performance, as well as shooting at enemies that come too close. Cool. I was not expecting this at all.
Oh, I didn't know they shot at enemies that came too close as well.
I believe they do. Someone is saying they only shoot at locked-on missiles. Well, either way, they are shooting.
I thought it was just locked-on missiles, but I actually had them killing the actual missiles on one of the days. But I never saw a Connie take out a missile. I think only Avenger 1 had it work one time.
Okay.
And yeah. So yeah, what about dumbfire missiles? Does it shoot dumbfire ones down or only locked on? I actually don't know. But
I'm hoping they let us do a dumbfire, though the Polaris will have to be nerfed first. Right now it has far too much maneuverability.
Yes.
You strafe up in this thing and it's crazy. It's so fast.
That's very normal for early, but it just, the problem is that it's normal and it shouldn't be. Yeah. They need to have that stuff dialed in, and then people are going to dogfight with this thing, and it's just stupid. But the one thing that I noticed was we fired 4 missiles. The defense turrets knocked out 3 and 1 got through. So things that's like cool. Maybe the Peregrine or whatever will be able to get through there and actually hit it. But
Firebird?
Oh, Firebird, sorry. Yeah, we'll be able to get through there and do some damage, but at the same time, those are smaller missiles. So a ship like this, not so much. Yeah, I don't know. The only other thing is there was like a Reddit thread with somebody rammed it with an M50 and killed it, and everyone was like, "This is bullshit." Like they were starting to freak out, and I'm like, It's like
We
we have a
we
solution
were
for that
trying. Well, I was going to say
in
our
Maelstrom.
solution
So
apparently was today we were trying to make it explode because every new ship I want to see explode because usually they're unique explosions, and it
mm,
just wouldn't, just refused. Doesn't matter how many we got Polarises to ram into each other multiple times, like the old train crashes that they would sell tickets to, and they're just bouncing off each other and flying away and stuff. So just make
okay,
them invincible, obviously.
cool. That's silly. But yeah, it's a cool ship, and I'm looking forward to at least trying it in the mining fleet a little bit and see what happens. But
Yeah.
what do you want to go to next? Do you want to jump to that post, the comms dive, to since I had just mentioned it? I guess.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, cool. Let me bring it, zoom in just a little bit, and then bring it up. So it's basically a patch watch, but
Hmm.
not for the patch. It's like what's coming soon. It's almost like a hey, we know there's certain things that need to change, and we're letting you know that we know. Uh,
Yeah.
Precision targeting. They're trying to say that in the future, large ships will be very dangerous for fighters. Where right now,
Hmm.
not so much. This
Yeah.
one's pretty sick. Cave exploration and also other 3D maps like contested zones. The plan is to have a fog of war mechanic that
Yeah,
will
which
you
sounds
will
great.
not know how to get through these things until you've gone through them first. But if you have a
Yep.
mission, you may um,
Get
have
like a
that
map with it.
information. Yeah.
Yep.
Full screen, we all know about that and what's
Hmm.
going on. Vulcan, we've seen a lot of dev posts about that. It's not coming in the next patch, but the one after that. Global Illuminous. Yep, we'll just pass that one.
Yep.
Uh, then Grey Cat Industrial Rock Inventory and Trading Terminal. I don't know about you, but every time I stream when there's a new patch, somebody comes to my channel and asks me if the rock is working, and it never really is.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
this is them going, we know, and we'd like to fix it.
Yep.
Basically, it's to be able to sell directly from your rock, which you can't do now. This is what I
Hmm.
mentioned earlier. Lots, big paragraph about mining bags. Once again, they want to allow you to be able to remove and replace them easily. They want you to be able to put them on cargo grids of both your warehouse and ships. And they want trading terminals and refineries to recognize the bags and their materials or whatever
Hmm.
on that UI. When that'll happen, nobody
Yeah.
knows. And then refined materials will be transferred. This I don't want to see personally, but yeah, because this is just adding more pain to the process. But that's already painful.
I think
Is
I think it's important for like my friend has the cargo ship. I need to put it into my freight elevator so they can take it
oh,
type of stuff.
look what I
Yeah,
highlighted
limited to
though.
4 SCU sucks,
That's
but
what I'm talking
yeah,
about. The pain is
yeah,
like, why not 32 SU? I don't know what the
yeah,
limit
yeah.
is for, and I don't understand. I don't get it.
Yeah, no, no.
But yeah, people are saying Twitch is acting weird. Nothing on my end. Watch on YouTube. It'll be perfect and probably better quality. So
Also, it's fine on my end watching on Twitch, so
yeah, I
get
mean
a
that.
better browser cred.
It's the Twitch servers wherever you are in the world. Sometimes they're bad. This Polaris point defense, we talked about that, and then
Yep.
navigating jump points as a group. We just found out how big the groups are. They're huge.
Yeah, group of 40 is crazy.
Yeah, obviously we go in one at a time, and there is a decent.
There's some leeway.
Yeah,
Not leeway. There's some
you could
some
just see the
small
person.
delays.
You could just see the person in the distance. You can't. You're not like in
I
my
don't know.
experience.
This week, there's been a few times that I've done, but I've also seen a few other people do,
Yeah,
where you are right on top of them, but you're still like, there's still a distance, if that makes sense. Like you're not actually ramming into them.
yeah. Okay, I've not seen anybody too close. It's always been quite far away. But how has your jump point experience been the last couple days? Have you done it at
See,
all?
yes. See, that's the thing, Mike. I really wanted to mention last week when we had Cutlet on, just like, Mike, I finally did it. I finally got to do the thing you got to do 9 months ago that I've
Yeah.
been shitting on you about every single podcast.
How? I mean, and you got to do it in a much better
Yes.
state than
Yeah.
I did. Like it felt really good.
Yep. My very first jump worked and was awesome. Um,
Hell yeah.
and then like a few jumps after that were terrible. But The it was so cool. So the music kicked in, the frame rate at the time was good, and it was such a cool experience. It's certainly the thing is though, like I can. There have been concerns I've heard from people saying like it's going to be tedious, and it's like if you're jumping through jump points like more
Over
than
and over
like
again.
5 times a day, why? Like you're doing something weird, right? That's not really the intention of these locations.
Hmm.
Uh, but even then, I think they are just enough like not difficulty, but like you have to pay attention the whole time. It's just enough of that to be a little bit interesting, and then the experience is awesome. So I love them, particularly in the last few days where jump points have been way more consistent. Um, they've been super cool. So yeah, I've been happy.
Yeah, if anybody can hear me on Twitch, this is a Twitch wide thing for a lot of like either US or EU people. Again, go to YouTube. I just linked it in the chat. It's not a my end thing. It is absolutely a Twitch end thing. I'm trying
Yeah,
to.
because I'm still watching Twitch now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm literally trying to press play on me jumping through a jump
Yeah.
point, and it's not working. So
Yep.
it seems to be a little Twitch thing. But yeah,
Yep.
I have. It feels long. And the one thing
Sure.
that I really want them to nail down that they haven't yet is when you hit the 50% mark,
Hmm.
you either feel the old system stream out and the new system stream it, whatever. It is just like a bang, you hit a wall and you're like, okay, and then we go. I don't know if everybody's
Last
experiencing it the way I am, but it's a brutal moment there.
I was going to say last few days been 50-50 on whether or not that happens for me. So once again, feels like it's likely server related issues.
Yeah.
Um, it has. I have had a few jumps that have felt seamless, like
Okay.
actually seamless. But most of them, yeah,
I've
you
had
get
none
to. It's not
feel
the real
seamless.
50%. Like it's not where the color changes. It's like a little bit further than that for me
Yeah.
most of the time. Is then yeah, like everything stutters, frame rate drops to like 0 for like a couple of seconds, and then it comes back, and it's like, well, that ruins the experience a little bit. So, um, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like, oof, this is tough.
Yeah.
But especially if you're trying to like navigate it well and not mess up,
Yeah.
it's like, whoa. But
Yeah.
outside of that, it's been really fun. And again,
Have you failed some jumps?
I failed the first one like a couple days ago, but
Mhm.
not out of any fault of my own. It was one of the bugs that pulls you through.
Oh, okay.
And
So
then
yeah, I've done.
I've randomly failed where I was in it and I was fine, and the jump point was just like, I'm leaving,
No.
goodbye, and it just disappeared, and I was still in the
I'm
jump point,
jumping now.
but it was just gone. Yeah, so it's like those were my
So
failures.
we did some deliberate tests to fail because once again it is like if you're paying attention you won't fail, but we did some in the last few where failing worked because I've also the sometimes you would try to fail and the system's just like no, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You're
Well, I
fine.
had failed
Like all the way through.
early in Evo before it was open. I had failed
Yeah.
quite a few times. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you felt
But
it.
yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that worked. And
Where'd you end
two
up?
things. So that's the second thing I'll say. The first thing, the VFX for while you're failing make me want to fail, which is not good. Like the VFX are so cool
Oh, the hitting
when
the
you're like
edge.
surfing on the side of
Yeah,
the
yeah,
edge of the
yeah, yeah.
wormholes.
Yep.
They've got to make those VFX worse, so I'm not like incentivized to try it every time.
Shake the ship or
Um,
something.
yeah. But the failing was really cool. So it's supposed to do like distortion damage and stuff. I'm hoping it'll do more stuff like that when engineering comes online. Right now, if you fail for long enough, and it does require quite a long time, like it was like
Yeah,
20 or 30 seconds for me.
they give you quite a
Um,
bit of leeway.
yeah, it'll yeet you out, and it really sends you a far way depending on where you fail. So I did one from Stanton to Pyro, failed while I was still like in the Stanton half. I was essentially right next to the Magnus jump point, which is like 80 million kilometers
Yep.
from the Stanton from the Pyro jump point. So that was wild, and made it so it's like yeah, you're probably gonna just die because you're not gonna have enough fuel. And then I did one in Pyro, the Pyro side, similar sort of thing. Just yeah, middle of nowhere, like somewhat near Pyro 4. So I'm glad they got that working.
Nice. Have you been to Pyro 4 yet?
Yes. Have you been there today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Clouds are
clouds are
working.
cool. Yeah, the clouds are
They're
cool.
super cool. They feel like weird though. So yeah, for those who haven't seen,
They're very low to the ground.
They're dynamic. Yeah, they're low to the ground and tall, which is like weird.
I've never seen clouds like that in my in real life.
Yeah,
Put it that way.
Super cool though. So yeah, we have dynamic clouds on Pyro 4. As far as I could tell, it was the only planet that had the dynamic clouds. I went to go check Pyro 1 because that's the one that I'm waiting for. That's the one that has the big storm on it, and they did not seem to be dynamic. But yeah, they change, they move, they have dynamic shadows, not quite to the level of global illumination, of course, because that's not in yet, but it's cool to be in daylight and the shadows change around you. Yeah, they were super dope.
Yeah, this is the example of the cloud that I saw. It was like on the ground.
I saw something similar.
But it was just they move pretty quick, and and they
morph a lot.
They morph a lot, yeah. Let's see. There you go. I think that's probably the best example of what we're talking about. Just for a brief second there, but you saw it. Very cool. And I don't know. That's basically what I've been up to this week. Is that.
That might be a good move to the monthly report because the main thing that I wanted to talk about in the monthly report,
because I don't know
was in regards to clouds. So, yeah, this is our monthly report for October. Obviously, they spent most of October doing Citizencon. Like, of course, that's not much of a surprise. So a lot of the stuff in here is in relation to that. There's a few things they touch on, like they've nearly finished some ships. There's some more ships going up soon. They're doing economy for Pyro. Like, there's a lot of stuff we know about. But in the R&D section, they talk all about like Genesis stuff, and specifically in relation to weather and clouds. And this was a few days before today when we got dynamic clouds on Pyro 4. This made me think, wow, this actually is much further ahead than I thought it was. It's just because they never revealed it until Citizencon. And then we have very primitive but still dynamic clouds now on Pyro 4. So this was huge for me. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just I struggled to get excited by this kind of stuff. It was like we just talked about it. It's nice. It looks cool, but it's like, man, what does it do? I look at it it looks cool, and then
environment.
I look at environment will make it makes Star Citizen like that is everything. Like I don't want to take away from that. It is what makes Star Citizen special, and if they just took what we just talked about at CitizenCon and started doing it, you're like, all right, man, you're gonna have something special here. And they continue to add to it. But then, I've scrolled around a lot, and this is gameplay related, right? As they're doing their Save Stanton and then the mission refactor, right? Important stuff. Cool. The entire core gameplay team is not listed in this monthly report. Obviously, they were doing stuff. It was not there at all. And it's just, I'll just take it from this perspective and just be like, it is a little frustrating that you get on stage and say, we're going to, back to the basics of MMOs or video games in general, and we're going to do gameplay, and this is how we're going to do it. We're going to keep it simple. And then, no conversation about what you're doing. And it was just like, ooh, what that was, even if you just like repeated the same things that they basically have been, which is Maelstrom stuff or radar stuff, it's just like, still, I wish it was there. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, isn't like most of core gameplay engineering that just got delayed?
Yeah, probably
like all the engineering stuff. So it could be some reason why, but
good point.
About that.
It was just like, damn, dude, like, what do we do? Cool, 4.0's coming. What are me and Croncy gonna do? Look at fucking clouds? So it was just like,
oh, I will.
Yeah, but
guys, ready for my 3-hour long play of sitting and watching clouds move by? Let's go.
I should bring up what I did find, though. We don't know what it means, but I did find a new commodity at the end.
Yes. Lots of new commodities in general in Pyro. Both, it seems both harvestables and also like commodity trading.
Not one that I knew existed though. This is one I did not know existed. Raw ice. We knew we
I
had
didn't know either.
pressurized ice, but I didn't know it was a mineable. It absolutely, because it's paired with the Agricium here, looks like the low value item versus the higher value item, and Agricium isn't that high value. It is super
Very
light.
possible, yeah.
Super light. If I let this play, maybe we'll get to it, or I can like maybe tap. Yeah. Here you go. I got to tap back just a tiny bit. That is a 430 mass rock. That is 99% ice. If you didn't notice, I'm in fracture mode. A 430 mass rock I cannot scoop. Because it has 13 SCU of ice in it.
Yeah, it's not much at all.
That's a lot of ice, but the mass is really low. So it was just like
right. Yes.
Yeah, so it was just like a weird, because I was like trying to extract it and they're like, it's yellow. I'm like, yeah, but it's 400 mass. How can it, how? And then I saw the SCU and I was like, oh, that must be why. And it did not scoop into my hold. This is a known issue in the game right now. So I wasn't able to see its sell price. And then right before we were about to start was when I was like, I'm trying to get to a refinery. I hit a server error and it was just like, all right, I can't see the refinery price for it. But yeah, there's lots of new commodities in, and I'm kind of curious to just go hit the belts in 4.0 and see what we got, you know?
Yeah, two other commodities I've been able to find this week, which once again didn't spend much time doing it. I didn't find Ricocite, but I found raw silicon, and I found tin as a mineable. Tin used to exist, I believe, as a commodity that you could buy and sell, but not as a mineable. So
I've seen tin as well. I saw Ricocite. PC 101 found Ricocite, but I didn't. So I just saw a screenshot of it, but I was looking everywhere for it, couldn't find it. The reason I actually went here was Cutlet had went to Space Cutlet on Twitch. If you guys don't know Cutlet, had been going to the asteroid belts and said every single asteroid belt had like 50% gold in every single rock that he found. And I was like, that's got to be placeholder. And I was like, let me just check again. And now it's like, okay, they did something and I found raw ice. What's that? What is happening?
Yeah.
So
has it been your experience when I looked, it was my experience, but has it been your experience that the rocks in general in Pyro have been more valuable? Just straight up.
I have not looked. This was my first really taking the time to look. So
the amount of the amount of Bex, Taranite, Laranite, Quantanium that I found has been way higher and more consistent in Pyro than in Stanton.
As in higher percentages in the rock?
Higher
or
percentages
just finding them more often? Okay.
Like both. Like good amounts more often.
Has Red Monster done a little
not
grab
yet,
yet?
I believe.
We got a message him.
He did a
he's had it for a long time in the previous Pyro playtest, but
what's it called? He did a data mining when they first came out, and he just found the names of new commodities, which usually doesn't mean much because there's new commodities all the time. Some of the new trading commodities have existed in the game file since 2017, so it's like whatever. Oh, not 2017. Since 317. And so it's like sure, whatever. Yeah.
So yeah, we just who knows? I guess I'm more dialed into. I was looking for the space cows today. Couldn't find them.
Yeah, I think Zach keeps saying he's put them in, but he just keeps forgetting to press the button. I think.
Yeah, I went and checked the savannas on Hurston, and I found everything else, but not them. So I assume that they're not there. But I'm always I want to know now what the tooltip says that this commodity is and what it does, because they're tying all that narrative tooltippy stuff into crafting, and
it's more likely now that they've worked out crafting, it's more likely that those tooltips could be accurate.
Correct. So the Copian horn being for medical stuff, or I don't know what the eggs are for. I'm curious, you know, what sort of recipes would this raw ice thing be in, and so on and so forth. Because like now that I'm just going brain wise is like if you add 15 more mineable commodities to this game, like you're just going to be coming across a variety of things. So number one, you have to condense that variety into pockets of like, if I'm looking for this thing, I need to go here. If I'm looking for that thing, I need to go there. But at the same time, every day I might want to mine something else, because if adding crafting, it's like those things become, hey, we're low on ice, you know?
Yep.
And then you go for it, kind of thing. It's starting to give me that vibe that might happen at some point, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, just lots of random rambling about our experiences this week. Most of it in game, which is refreshing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know how you feel, but that's refreshing to me to be playing the game. And
wanting to play the game. But to be fair, that's because I've wanted to play 4.0 this whole week, because it's just been so
you're like
many
a little
new
behind
experiences for me to have. I am as well, yeah. Because I wasn't able to get into 4.0 for weeks, just from bugs and stuff.
And timing and all the timed play tests. And
exactly. But even today, I was like, oh my God, Polaris, I finally get to try it out. Like, so excited, so hyped. So all that stuff has been a nice change, but also very similar to last year when we started getting the pirate playtest. It was like the same sort of, you know, oh man, I want to get hyped before IAE or whatever. Should we talk about SCL, because it was a important one, especially with stuff that we like. Which so this was the guys from the Dress to Kill presentation at Citizencon. I imagine SCLs for the next like 2 months are probably going to be Sitcon related. Probably there might be some other ones.
They shouldn't be, but they will be.
Why shouldn't they be? I feel like it's important to get the Q&As for a lot of those presentations.
Okay, maybe from that perspective, yes, but I mean more from the this stuff is very far away, and discussing these things don't make much sense, and that's sort of what we found from this SCL. Can still change. Yeah, is they're like, well, we could, you know, it's just like, I can't anymore, man. You need to know. That's it. We need to know with 100% certainty. And this one is close enough that a lot of this episode was, we do know. So that was pretty good.
I did love that half of Zach's responses to questions that he was asked was, oh no, I play video games. I know that this could be a problem, and so I've got solutions for these, whatever.
Exactly.
Which is always really nice to hear, right? So pretty cool. Some big takeaways. They mentioned utility armor.
Just to be on that point there for a second before we move on, my favorite one of those was actually from Jared.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you would have gotten to it, but I think it's just because you dialed in to that aspect was, I don't know how a lot of you guys felt, but I was very concerned about their discussions around how we were going to recover subscriber gear, right? Things that are purchased on the website, and so on and so forth. And there's positives and negatives about this. I think there's a huge negative, like just black eye, and then there's a huge positive. And I'm going to start with the positive. Jared goes, we didn't put in the item recovery because we didn't want it to be a duping machine. So they recognized the like their thought process was flawed, and they went, yeah, no, we can't do that. Cool. They don't want to make it duping. But then they said, if you bought this armor on the website, you're going to get a blueprint for it. And that initially is like, yo, good idea. But then you just bought a blueprint on the website. Yeah. You just paid money and bought a blueprint on the website.
So yeah, it also felt a bit like conflicting information between those two, and so I may have interpreted it differently. The way that I had thought about it was like, until we get crafting, we're getting the terminal where you can get it back, and then once we do have crafting, you can craft one, and it can't be duped, type thing. That's the way my brain wants it to be as well. So I might be biasing myself, right?
If I want it to be. It's the blueprint would be for the skinning of the item.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
obviously
So you make the
very
item and then you
unique.
just
Yeah, like you have to have the blueprint for the item. It's in the game, and it's easy to access, right?
Yeah.
And then you take that item as part of the crafting recipe that makes it look like the subscriber item, right? You can even just straight up say, I'll give like a super unique example. Is there's like it's like the one. It's bright yellow biohazard suit. I just could not think of the word, but like just a random one type of. I don't care if it's a regular undersuit. Just make a regular undersuit part of that recipe, and then you apply some materials to it, and then you can create this biohazard suit, whatever, right? I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah, same.
To some extent, but it's I hope those have rare materials involved in them, and it's a bit more of a challenge. But I did immediately was like, that is, you just made the thing that we want to not be on the website and be paid for now on the website. And I was just like, God, man, they just don't get it. But it's not the end of the world. It's just setting a precedent to do worse in the future, which they always do. So it's like, damn, guys.
I was going to say, if it is the worst situation, I still then imagine it is a tier 1, technically tier 0 version of that weapon, just with the skin that like.
We need that clarification, right? We need that clarification, like from our podcast last week.
On tiers.
Yeah.
Because once again, sort of like speaking to what I said about, Zach responded to everything with like, I play video games. I know what like, tends to work, is like, there's no way that enough people at CIG think that that's a good idea to have like higher tiers be purchasable or fully refundable.
It matters who thinks it's a good idea, because there's a lot of things that we would like that your response has been undermined many times by decisions that they've made in the past, right? How can the platinum ticket events be what they were without, like a guy like Zach is not saying that that's cool. The people who made those missions are not saying that that's cool. It makes their missions look really bad, right? So, little fears with that, but at the same time, probably super far away, and we'll see. And they seem to be communicating that they get it. Let's see if they actually do, and let's see who has the power here. Is it the game devs or is it the marketing team? They continuously say the marketing team doesn't. But I have a feeling we're going to have another year of mostly ship sales and small incremental updates in 2025. But we'll see on that one. But anything else that really stuck out? That was the only thing that stuck out to me from this episode, by the way. A lot of this stuff was pretty basic, like non-answer kind of stuff.
I think there was some good questions answered. So like I said, the first one that was really big was the utility armors, because throughout the Citizencon, all they talked about was the military armors. They mentioned that they had a mining armor in production that was not close enough to release. So they're still doing that. It seems like their ideas around utility armor or industrial armor, I guess I'll say, is kind of what I want, which is to make your profession easier in sub capacity. They mentioned scanning. They mentioned, just having like extra UI about whatever's related. I think they were specifically talking about salvage.
My POV on that, of course, was the negative one. Sorry, everybody. It was mining is much further along. So when they explained mining, I was like, okay, cool. But then they went on to salvage after that. And I was like, salvage is so incomplete from what it needs to be and what it should be. Now, I'm not saying add the levels of depth that mining has necessarily, but salvage has 2 commodities, and salvage is salvage and repair. It's this weird
I'll fight you on the 2 commodities. A large part of salvage is supposed to be salvaging modules, cargo, and like weapons.
Okay, cool. But do you really you could argue that, and that's fine, but that's not actually the argument that I'm making. the argument that I'm making is very similar to what we just discussed about all the new minables and how excited we got about those. Is without that depth, what am I even scanning? Why are you wasting all this time with UI when you don't know what you actually want to do with this mechanic yet? That was my like initial was like, whoa. You know how I'm always saying, do not build another mining ship, do not build another salvage ship, do not build anything around these mechanics that you don't know what you're doing with, right? And that's another one is like, now we're making armors and UI takes forever. UI is a bottleneck to everything. Why are we taking the UI team and having them work on something that is going to be replaced, right? So I was just like, ooh, that one was like red flags started going off. Is like, why are we even doing this? The mining one I get, the salvage one I do not. Medical one maybe I get, but I just go back to the salvage. Is like salvage is in such a good place while not in a good place at all at the same time. Mechanically, I like hull stripping, but I hate structural.
I think everyone hates structural. It's too simple.
Exactly.
It's too left clicky.
And also just what is construction material? Like it's just it's just a weird one. It's in a weird place. But I remember thinking about that during this.
Yeah. The only other thing that I really like, once again, a lot of the questions were just clarifying questions, so not like a ton of information. Still worth watching this week, I think, though. But one of the other ones that I really enjoyed was when they did talk about creatures. So obviously, the Valakar came up a bunch. Once again, more clarification on the Valakar, how they want it to work. They do not want it to be tied to the Moby-Glass. They want it to be this cool new thing that they're very excited about, which I imagine is going to be like a dynamic, like Valakar thing, like signatures or earthquake. No idea what it's going to be, but they don't want it to be tied to a mission, basically. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that.
And then a little bit of a touch on the other creatures. So they know the next 5 fauna that we're going to be getting, which obviously, because they're actively working on them. The one that we are getting after the cow and before the Valakar is called the Toruk, not the Turok, the Toruk. And then Zach refused to elaborate, which is very disappointing.
The only thing he said was it's neutral. So it's more like a cow or the bird and not like the...
not like the Copians.
The Copians, correct.
Yeah. So what that says to me is that the Valakar is not coming in 4.0. It's not going to be a surprise release, which I thought there was a possibility, but it seems like not so much. And even in the SCL, they clarified what else has to happen with the Valakar to be done. And they were basically saying like we could just put it in there and it's just like in this one spot and you do it. But they want to redo how creatures spawn. They want to
reworking more stuff. So
it's reworking stuff.
That tells you that timelines are probably pretty far out.
I did love though that apparently the way that they got Copian spawns to work is to just make it work the same way that rocks work.
Yep, that's why they all spawn in like a little group together.
Yeah, exactly. So, I still think we'll see it within the first 2 patches of 4.0, but a little bit further away than I had hoped.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all I got from SCL. It was we're just back from SitCon SCL. That's the vibe I got. Also, this thing is, this whole spread is a square.
It's not a square, Mike. It's not a square.
I don't know. There's lots of evidence that it is. Lots of evidence. Did you care about Inside Star Citizen, or are you purposely ignoring it because you were the main character?
I'm a big shill in that video, apparently.
Did you hear that because they showed you a bunch?
Yeah, but I also then called myself a shill because of it.
Okay.
Didn't get paid for it, so you'll hear from my lawyer, CIG. ISC was just the post-Citizencon episode. It was cool. I actually watched your reaction to it, Mike, and it was kind of cool to watch you start off being like, you know what, don't really care about these episodes, and also like being fully transparent. You know, it's like, oh, these aren't like the game episodes, whatever. But then really enjoying this episode.
The editing was really good.
Yeah,
it was. Like they told the story really well.
I think they've absolutely smashed these videos recently. So
it was over the top. But at first I was like, what is this? It's ridiculous. But then like it fit. It worked out. It was it was good. It was good.
So yeah, it was cool. You expect this episode every year, so
Exactly. Yeah.
nothing
Not
really new out
mad
of it.
about it.
Just something to look back on in a few years' time, and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's right, that's how that CitizenCon was, whatever. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
exactly.
will
So
say I was disappointed they didn't show anything from the bar citizens, which, as if once again the Friday night had like 2,000 people. One of the areas was outside and was just completely full. I'm really surprised they didn't like take
just
some
get any
footage there or
filming
anything like
there.
that, or
Maybe they
that. But
couldn't. Maybe there's some rules.
whatever,
But
that's possible. Yeah.
this guy, he's like a regular in the community. He's been around forever. I
Yeah.
can't. Toys R Me, I think his name's something like that. He
Yep.
you saw that in the reaction. I'll just share it with everyone here that maybe didn't. I hold grudges, okay? And this is how bad I hold grudges.
Yep.
This guy offline rated me in Toy Grubbin, yeah, that's right. Offline rated me in Conan Exiles, folks. Conan Exiles. And
How
I'm
many years
still
ago?
2017, 2018, something like that.
Jeez.
And I am holding that grudge still. Okay? On Conan Exiles release. Not
So guys,
even like
we're
long.
gonna offline raid this guy's star base the second we
Yep.
get the opportunity.
Yeah. And I will never forget it for the rest of my life. I have no hatred towards the guy whatsoever.
Yeah.
But every time I see him, it does irk me a little bit because I was like, damn,
Yeah.
dude, that guy ruined my experience. It actually wasn't him. It was Matauchi. He was playing with Matauchi. But yeah.
Oh, so
Oof.
it wasn't even him.
Well, he was part of it. So when I see him, I'm like, yeah, I remember you. I'll never forget that. Never forget. Can't remember
Love
to,
it.
do basic tasks throughout the day, but we'll never forget that, which is, yeah.
Can't remember
so
the
stupid.
cans, but you can.
True. We'll remember random other things. That though is all I have as far as my list. Yeah. And we did go off list a little bit and went for our experiences that we've been playing because we've been playing a lot more, which is really awesome.
Always feels good.
Yeah. So I think if you are, I'm not entirely ready. I don't have their names ready to go, but if you are, we can start pulling people in and we'll keep them to 5-ish minutes, I guess, and we'll try to get everybody in.
Sounds good. As a if you ever want to call in to answer the call, I don't think I've done this for like the last month. If you ever want to call in to answer the call, make sure you go into our Discord and you go into the green room. Usually we fill up very quickly, so you want to make sure you do it right at the start of every episode. You can go !podcast on Twitch, or you can find it in the description there on YouTube. In addition, because we have not, we've taken a lot of callers over the last couple of weeks in CitizenCon, but there's been a lot of you wanting to call. If you do want to mention anything about CitizenCon today, feel free. Just keep it a little bit more brief. Try to mostly talk about the stuff we talked about this week, but we're not gonna kick you out if you do.
Exactly. Okay. Can you pull down Sikmikaniko if you don't mind? Because this is being annoying for me.
Sick, how you doing?
Can you hear us?
We're doing.
Nice.
There we are. How you going?
How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Not too bad.
Hey, just before I say anything about the Polaris, because last time I came here and I said that I hated the EVA, I got flagged for it. I really like the ship.
Mm-hmm.
I think the torpedo room was an afterthought. That's all I gotta say.
Which room? Sorry.
The torpedo room, the one that you
Torpedo room.
the one that you have to fire the torpedo. I think is the dumbest thing to have a guy stand in the dark room to fire a torpedo. That's my take.
You would rather have it on the the bridge, since that's where you're firing it from anyway.
Even if he wasn't at the bridge, Mike, I think at least have like an actual station where the person is sitting down and like has a computer and
make
just
them
like
feel important.
I guess. But the standing thing is terrible to me.
I will say, from a gameplay perspective, it does feel like they want the engineer to have that role as well, like dual role, that sort of thing. And I imagine almost every team's going to do that for the most part, because if you're worrying about engineering while you're 10 kilometers away from your target, that's a problem. But you're still kind of right. It does feel weird. It does seem a bit strange.
Now that you mention it, it's like, yeah, they are in like this tunnel.
It's a weird spot. Yeah.
Like you're in a totally different place than where the missiles are even coming from, and yeah.
Sort of. You're just ahead of them.
Yeah, you're just ahead of them.
Yeah.
The torpedoes in the back.
Oh, but I guess the view, it makes it look like they're coming out of the front. That's the pilot bound missiles. Yeah, never mind.
Yeah, but overall, I think looking at the ship, the amount of details, I think did a fantastic job. I think a lot of people are going to be flying those, a lot of orgs. I don't see any other better ship for Daymar Rally besides the Polaris now, to be honest. So I'm going to have to get one of those, unfortunately. But I do have an issue also with, if I play a lot with the Zeus when it came out, and I practice. I do a lot of cargo hauling as well, and I don't know, the CL and the ES that we saw. If you go into the not the habitat area, not the sleeping area, but the habitat area where the kitchen is, it just feels very bland and white and no details, and it's just like it's very.
It looks like Play-Doh almost. It's just like a weird material choice, and it just looks weird.
Right. This
it doesn't
even
look
the hinges,
Star Citizen. It looks unfinished.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought. It doesn't look.
Yeah.
I mean, we're used to the high quality and very high detail, and I think the Polaris has some of those also in the quarters where like there's some details missing. But I mean, I'm very happy that's out, that we get to see it, and the Starlancer. I don't
Before
really
you go to
know.
the Starlancer, can I jump on on something that we missed in the Polaris?
The Polaris.
There's mirrors and the whole cameras thing.
Oh yeah, they like work, right?
Yeah, they're not mirrors. It's a camera that's a screen.
Right.
So it kind of is like a mirror, but it's not. And then the in the brig, you have two cameras that you can look at the people in the jail cell, what they're doing.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
and it does work.
And it
does work.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I feel like I would only ever use that for RP purposes. I don't think I'd ever have to be like, guys, 100%. Make sure, like, this is actually 5 Nights at Freddy's now, and I'm trying to make sure that I'm watching the brig cameras. But
no, yeah,
cool,
it's totally RP stuff, but it just to go more onto the detail stuff that Sick was talking about. It was like, yeah, those were some of the interesting details of that ship.
Yeah, the co-pilot on the Polaris has access to the camera that's in the hangar.
Yep.
And you can also select different doors to open manually from the menu, which is really, really cool too.
I'll see if I could find that in my playing with it yesterday. It's very neat.
Is that not just the engineering door stuff, or is it a different version of it?
What do you mean engineering door stuff?
Well, you said you can open up the doors. You can do that with engineering.
Oh, it's like a physical button on the co-pilot. It's like there's a square in the center, and then it's a circular button that I'll do my best to find it. Actually, it's way easier to find than to explain. But I
did not spend much time in the cockpit. I kept on having to try out the missiles. So.
It still feels very RP, but it's a how would you say it? Like you're the co-pilot is managing the cargo. It gives you the opportunity to bark orders, I guess.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I think the Starlancer guys, I'm not a big fan of MISC just overall. You guys were discussing the progression on it, and I think the jump from the whole A to the Starlancer is a little bit high. I think we're missing the whole B to see how it goes. I think I can see the video, Mike. Yeah, that's
the thing. I don't think that's the thing. I don't think you are jumping to the Starlancer at any point. I think there's much better ships from different manufacturers at the moment. Because everything could change, obviously, but for the prices that they are, both in-game money and real money. In-game money, obviously, more susceptible to changes. Than the Starlancer. It just feels weird. It feels to me like it's in a weird spot where I would never go, my next step is the Starlancer. It's always a different ship.
Yeah.
But I think the technology
a little bit.
Well, I mean that elevator, the side elevator for the doors, Mike, is just really. That's a really nice addition.
Cool. Yeah.
I think that's something that they could use more in other ships, hopefully.
Yeah.
Elevators for cargo are better than ramps for cargo, and then just direct view straight into the ship is the best. But if you can't do that, the elevators are very nice. I think this is where I'm about to torpedo this Starlancer to death. But yeah,
we torpedoed an Aurora. Was glorious.
Nice.
I don't know how much the torpedoes cost. I know they're pretty expensive, but it was
They're bugged at the moment. Apparently, they're like literally 2 AUEC.
oh
And
To
beautiful.
across the board, if you go bombs, the A2 bombs are like nearly 100,000 each or something like that. Like
Yeah.
we're getting to the point where they're figuring this stuff out a bit, which is nice.
It'll be
Yeah,
expensive.
yeah, they'll make
Yeah.
sense. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen much of the SCL. I saw a little bit. I saw about the
Mhm.
armor. I've been trying to hop in here just to talk to Croncy about Citizencon, so and AtmoEsports. So I'll take 30 seconds before I go just to say this, Mike.
Yeah.
Um, I've been in virtual racing for a long time. A lot of competitions, a lot of you know, in like in-house events. Croncy is by far one of the best commentators I've seen,
You
and he
shut your
Hey.
dress
mouth.
and he
Keep your
dresses
mouth.
very spiffy because I don't know what he's trying to do to convince people, like dressing in a little suit and everything. But he did a
It's what you
fantastic show.
do. It's what esports casters do. I had this conversation with Crucian because he like I was wearing a blazer to the Atmo
Yeah.
So
event,
spiffy.
and I was like, "That's what every esports caster does when they like do it live." What do you want me to do? I'm just copying people.
No, it was great. The Ammo event was great. CitizenCon
I'm
was
glad you had a good time.
CitizenCon is managing expectation. I think managing of expectations is crucial for CitizenCon,
Mhm.
and the event itself was much better than the last year's. This year's much better, but I think going to CitizenCon for a couple of times now, you kind of set your expectations at a certain level where you kind of you dim down. But I hope that the next one Mike shows up and we can
I won't.
see his face on there. And whoever
You know,
hasn't
Mike, next
been,
one's at your house.
I will maybe show up if it's in Orlando or something, but yeah.
I mean, someone leaked the location there when we were there. Um,
Really?
so yeah, so I'll leave it that way. I'm not gonna, I know you don't like leaks, so I'll keep that to myself.
I mean, leaks
I mean,
for a
even
CitizenCon in
Chris
Orlando is something that I would love to be leaked.
Chris
Uh,
himself on stage at the Atmo event, like half leaked, as in like so it's the way that he said it wasn't really like full confirmation that Montreal is on the table, right?
Okay.
He didn't explicitly say it would be Montreal, but he was like, "We'll be
Someone
there
did.
one day" type thing. So
I would
and that was Chris.
probably do that, but at the same time,
I'll drive down to Florida. I'll drag you there, Mike. That's okay.
I don't know.
I'm moving to the East Coast next year, so it's okay.
Live answer the call, Mike.
There's this other thing that like doing the event with level cap is so fun.
Yeah,
So
Big
it's
level
like
cap too, man.
no,
it's a big part of CitizenCon.
yeah, it's like
Genuinely.
what we do now. I can't not do that. It's like weird. Yeah. So
Just come to all the events before CitizenCon and then leave.
yeah. So
Be
I don't
great.
know. I would love to, but it's now I don't know what to do. Right? It's become this
Yep.
thing that we do. So
Yep.
maybe if that
It-
dies down or level cap says I don't want to do it anymore, then it'll make it easier.
I mean, every time I'll go to Citizen Cons now, I mean, this last time I met a bunch of Brazilian guys. I'm Brazilian American, so
Mm.
one of them is here in the chat. Kuko BR is one of the guys I met there, and you just get to see this whole side of the community that we're not used to. I
Yeah.
always play with them, North Americans and Australians most of the time, and I'm Brazilian and never seen a Brazilian guy. Now I see like hundreds of them
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
playing,
Big
which is
community.
it's fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
huge.
Every
but
time I've been to a live event, it's always been like Bar Citizen stuff like that. It's always been super wholesome and super good.
Mhm.
I fear the moment that it's not, but yeah, like I am not a very welcomed person in this. I'm
What
not
you're
a very
describing is
welcome
post-release.
person in this community. Post release, nobody will care what I say because the game's out, right? People care that I'm like impacting things that I have no impact on whatsoever, right? So it's just
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of do, but hey, guys, I appreciate the time. I don't want to take too much of your time. Thanks again for having us. Croncy did, I mean, again, fantastic job. One of my biggest friends in esports is Hugo, which is
Yep.
ESL caster for Counter Strike.
Yep.
He's a really cool dude too. So yeah, just keep up, and I'll think about more
big
crappy things
praise
to say
there.
about the Polaris when I find out more stuff. But I love the ship. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys, appreciate it. Thank you
Yes,
so
mate.
much.
Later.
Thanks again for calling in.
Oh yeah, every ship, every hab in the Polaris has a little two doors for your storage and stuff. So it's like people can be like living in the ship, maybe, which is
Yeah.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
As like the video's kind of playing in the background, you guys can't see it, but I can, and I'm just like, oh yeah, more details.
I do have to say, I find the like hull of the Polaris really weird because it's like the details are just like, what if we put more lines?
Yeah.
Like, that I'm kind of a bit bored by. But
I found the mirror here in a second as I'm
oh, okay, sweet.
as I'm getting somebody's.
This was one thing
next
I wasn't
name.
able to check out. I spent far too much time in the torpedo room.
And the next caller is going to be Rakaydos. All right, so I'll get that up, and then you guys can see how goofy the mirror is.
Yeah, I'll bring Rakaydos in now, but we're just gonna have a quick look at the mirror. Oh yeah,
it's a camera. You can see the little camera at the top.
Yeah,
but it's like
also,
weird,
like,
right?
The FOV is very camera, but that's still kind of cool.
It's cool, but it's like,
yeah,
everyone was calling it a mirror to me, and I was just like, this is not a mirror. Like, what is happening? Like, it was just spooking me out.
It's sort of a mirror. Cameras use mirrors.
It's a 1,000 year in the future mirror. It'll be a camera. It's also weird that there's a camera in the bathroom.
Cameras as mirrors, right? Yeah.
In the bathroom, though, like what the heck?
I don't know. Actually, true. That is a security issue. That's
so weird.
That's a HR complaint that we got to get through now. So
who's looking at that camera?
Anyway, Rakaydos, how you doing?
All right, haven't really messed around that much with the Polaris. I loaded over to the PTU late last night, and my one experience was attempting to dock at a station, not figuring out how to dock, trying to land, and unable to lower the landing gear while the docking UI was active. Lowering the ramps and landing on the ramps.
Yeah.
And then taking the elevator down, which put me below the ice.
Yeah, it's like even my experience today, which I only had like 4 hours off peak times as well, so usually like a little less buggy. Yeah, like this patch with the Polaris and the Starlancer and crazy buggy.
Yeah.
So give it a couple of days.
Usually it takes some time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we talked about subscriber gear. Most of that isn't that like just recolors of regular stuff?
Mostly.
Yes.
But a lot of it is not.
The exception being stuff like the dead rig is currently not available in game. The P8 AR is obviously not available in game yet. The
and those aren't even subscriber things. Those are purchased. So same.
Yeah, same idea. So for the most part, yeah, it's reskins, but
I'll bring up the page for you guys. Since I
also worth noting, at least at the moment, a lot of those reskins are lootable. Like random spawn lootable.
Yep.
But we are talking about in a situation where crafting exists, where I imagine lootables will completely change. So we'll have to see.
So I'm wondering whether because they also talked about crafting upgrades to your stuff, whether you could have, instead of having a tier upgrade, you could have a blueprint to turn your AR into an executive AR.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
And the blueprint would be locked to your account because you bought it. But
totally fine. Like, for example, like the custodian becoming the brimstone custodian should require a custodian to create it. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not going too crazy, but let's use something that is an example of like this. This only exists in the subscriber store. It doesn't exist in any other way.
It does exist in 4.0 on NPCs.
Done. So then you have the option there to recreate it then, right? Same with all these weapons. Paints are simple, but things like these are unique. So it's a little bit different, right? The posters, but those don't really have any gameplay implications, right? These weapons do. So that's where my feeling is on a lot of this stuff. The unique things, again, a little different, but like there is absolutely no reason why the Venture Rust Society, which is a unique, like you could see the helmet is unique from the other Ventures.
Mhm.
I could just require the venture helmet to make it.
Yeah.
And then the first, as long as the first step is playing the game, I do not have an issue with this. If the first step
Yeah.
is I bought it on the website and that's all that matters, that's where my issue is
Mhm.
on all this stuff. Do the Overlord armors exist outside other than in
Like I said, just
looting?
lootable. I think
Just
Overlords are
looting?
only lootables. Yeah.
So that
think-
would be an example of I would like to see a base of this in the game that's like available on. Actually, you know what? A lot of NPCs use this. So lootables more, I think maybe, I can't remember.
I feel
but-
like I don't see the Overlord out very often,
True.
but
And-
you might be right. There's a lot of gear in the game.
Here's a
but-
hyper
yeah,
unique
those
one.
I haven't seen anywhere else.
Exactly. So how do you do this would be the argument. And I think that's why we don't have a lot of this stuff at the moment is because they want to figure that problem out and that they recognize that it was a problem. So that's good.
Yes.
I've taken enough of your time. Sorry. Just I really wanted to hammer home the difference and what I'm saying versus what people might be perceiving. Like, fuck,
Well,
where are
other
these?
point
You know?
I wanted to raise is actually calling out SaltEMike a bit.
Let's do it.
So the stations from the 1.0
Mhm.
don't really do anything that we have not seen before. In that they are basically gold standard rest and relax stations.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
So what's your point?
The
My
if-
argument
if the-
was nothing about that.
Yeah, if the bit that you're calling out is like in regards to it's not feasible anywhere in the short term for them to be made, the big thing is not that refining is part of it or hangers are part of it. The big thing is you are allowing players to place massive locations, including connected massive locations in space. And there's a lot of not just bugs that are going to come as part of that and like big feature reworks, but also just like players can't be trusted and you need to have things in place to, stop those sort of things being abused.
And they basically so they basically implied that it's endless. Sorry, I might have to my wife's here to take the dog out, so you might hear the puppy in the background. But the thing that I have an issue with is one thing in particular, that the connections are endless is what they showed, and that's what they implied without having any idea if you could do that. And I will implore anybody who thinks that I'm that, like, for example, you're trying to call me out on this, I will implore you to watch the original episode on the first it was prototyping, that's what it began with, the structural salvage thing. And I would like you to listen to how they tested how it would perform under low server FPS conditions. What did they do, Croncy? Do you remember? I remember.
I don't know. I don't remember.
They spawned in a bunch of stations and locations on the server.
That's right. Yeah.
So if we are going to create a bunch of stations and connect them endlessly on a server, there's limitations to this, and those limitations are very obvious. And they basically implied that with server meshing we can do anything. And like what CIG has done forever, they don't know what they're capable of doing yet until they try.
Yep.
And
also, just quickly,
that's the reality.
Rakaydos, I feel like we've put some words in your mouth. Is that what you were saying in regards to like going against Mike?
Well, as far as station extensions go, I'm thinking some of the refinery stations already have arms that go out like about as far as the construction you saw there.
All right, and now connect Port Olisar to Seraphim Station, to Everus Harbor, to Port Tressler and Bajini Point, and put them all on top of a planet, because that's what CIG just implied that they were going to allow to happen. That's my issue.
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
sure
a
it's actually
potential
implied to go beyond one hexagon.
That is possible, to be fair, especially with the shape that they presented. But like
I mean,
they
that's
also
an easy one to prove wrong.
This is one of the ones why when I said to Mike, I do want SCLs on, like, a lot of the conversations they had.
You need to
I want
clarify
one
this
just
stuff.
on base building, straight up.
And one on stations.
Yeah, but yeah, even separated, because I do want there to be a limitation, like even just from a balancing perspective, not even from like an engine performance perspective, on how many of those you can put together. and I'd like to see what CIG have ideas for that, because if you do just have infinite stations, Test Squadron are going to own the entire world. So,
One thing I would
you
like
know,
to see them do is for the testing process for these stations, just replace Rest and Relax in Terra with all of these stations.
they are much cooler. I will give you that. They concept wise are pretty cool. I don't know if I want them to replace them, just because you still get the variety that way. And then you could also easily identify a player station versus an NPC station. But
So we're not doing one hexagon. We're just doing one hexagon.
yeah, even in the video they're doing more, are they?
Hmm. Interesting.
Maybe not actually.
No, look, that arm goes out.
That's one
That is
that's one
how
hexagon.
they go.
Yeah, look at the
That's
arm
one
at the
hexagon.
bottom. Look at the arm at the bottom.
Yeah, that arm doesn't go to another station. That's one
You
of
don't
the,
know that.
I think we do, because we know where the extensions come from. Yeah, that's not a base extension, because they're all at specific joints in the base that you can look at. Right? All of the connection ones are at specific joints. The other joints are all you'll notice are all specifically the, what do you call them? Like the refinery stations and the cargoes, whatever's.
What's
And that
this?
one there, that one's a connection one, but that's what I'm saying. It's coming from
What's this?
If you look, yeah, no, Mike, you're proving my point. You're the things you're pointing at are proving my point.
They're all connections.
No, those connections. Look at the base itself. It's the shape of the base. Certain connections are specifically designed just for refineries and cargoes, or whatever the things are.
This is
The other ones are
this.
specifically for figures.
It's coming from the bottom.
No, the one you just pointed at is not that one. The one that you just pointed at is the other connection that's going to the other base.
What you're saying is they're coming from the bottom, not the main.
Essentially, yes. Like, which also makes sense because they talked about.
Just to be clear, I'm not saying Croncy's wrong. I'm trying to understand what he's saying, because people are like, Croncy's right.
They have so
Sure.
Each base has a limited amount of connections for both your refineries and cargo whatevers, and then also it seems they have a limited amount of connections for connecting base to base. So I'm just saying this image actually maybe does go to support what Rakaydos says.
Maybe
it also still it still doesn't discount the original point of even 6 stations is kind of crazy. And
when all of these can have
crazy performance,
when all of these can have all of the other attachments to them, technically.
Exactly, yeah. So it is still just more of a thing of like, I just want them to clarify on this. If it does go the way of it can be less, sorry, the limit is less, then maybe it is further along. Sorry, not necessarily further along, but closer in terms of performance. But even then, this is much more a theory crafting discussion, because
it even was,
no matter
from
what,
CIG,
we're not seeing this in the next few years.
This is a theory crafting video.
Yeah.
This is to put an idea in your head and nothing else of what their intentions are. And if they just come out and say, we will limit these based on performance, then that's all I need to hear.
Yeah.
That's it. But if you watch the video, I'm pretty sure they say like endless connections or something like that as well. So just keep that in mind. I can't play the sound because you won't be able to hear it, Croncy, but there is some implication to what they say that it's like endless as well. I mean, I wonder if I just put
even then, imagine a planet that's got 30 of these around it,
Yeah, like what's the limit? I just wonder if I left up the closed captioning, what we would hear. Maybe something like that, but it doesn't really matter that much, I don't think.
I wouldn't worry too much for Rakaydos regardless. Like, they're going to get space stations in one form or another. And it's still going to be, it sounds like enjoyable content. It sounds like really cool end game content. We're just we're just arguing the like specificities of how complex these things can become.
He just said multiple stations linking. That's it. So
okay, sure.
They used good wording to give themselves outs.
No.
I just think it sets the wrong example, because again, they don't know what the limits they have are yet.
Also, sorry, Rakaydos, we took up a bunch of your time.
We're gonna give you more time. We're gonna give you more time.
Points. I'm a bit of a CCU whale, so I've got like 10 copies of the Shubin mining outfit.
Yep.
Not
Is that
sure.
just a
Like,
brag or?
Check this out, Mike.
Yeah.
what more like what would that would I get 10 copies of the blueprint? Would it be upgraded?
That's
I
yeah,
don't
that's a thing
know.
that needs to be, because that's not the only thing, right? Multiple people have like multiple blueprints is going to come up. They have not talked about multiple blueprints, and I really need them to, because
Do
I
that's
yeah,
a
don't know. I
big
because
didn't
part
think
of the
I'd get to
game.
my third topic.
I
Yeah.
think it's ridiculous if you get 10 blueprints for something like that personally.
Mhm.
Just from the gameplay perspective thing, because I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
what Croncy's wanting to know is you upgrade your blueprints, right? And I might want to upgrade I can't remember the suit example that you gave, but just choose a random suit,
Just
whatever
two
suit.
blueprints different ways.
Exactly. Like, do I want to go
Yeah.
more damage mitigation on this one, or more this one's lighter so I can move faster, kind of thing, right? And those blueprints should be different, and that would give you a pretty hefty advantage, I think. That wouldn't be very
Mhm.
fair to people that want to play the game. So
Yeah.
I like the idea of you get one blueprint and that's it. But
Mhm.
also, does that feel fair to you when you had purchased those things? So
Yeah.
the fair to the person who supported the game is also something that matters to me as well, even though it may not sound it, right?
It's fairly incidental to me. It was mostly done picked up on the way to get other things. Like I used a mole CCU to get to something more expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and
Sure.
every mole came with its own set of armor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you
Yeah,
won't
it's
be
just
the only person with that. There'll be a lot of people that have that are in the same boat.
exactly. Lots of people play the CCU game, so it's
Yeah.
not out of the realm of possibility that lots of people will have lots of blueprints, or CIG will have to address it as a like, whoopsies, what do we do now? We'll do
Yep.
this. So it's good to mention it now, and they can get ahead of it before finding out
Yep.
like, oh crap.
All right. Well, that's all I have. Thank you for having me on.
All right. Yeah.
Awesome. Cheers
And
for coming on.
you're probably maybe right about the station. We'll see. We'll see. I think it's definitely a we'll see, but I still have my concerns.
I definitely think there's more support in the fact that it's only 6, but also they didn't talk about it at all. They just said, yeah,
I'm
multiple
glad
stations. So it's like, what's it going to be?
I'm just glad it was brought up and we got to like
Mhm.
dissect it as much as we did, and now it's much
Mhm.
more clear to me instead of
Mhm.
the idea that was in my own head that they created.
Yeah.
Right. So
I mean, to be fair, I had the same idea.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And
That's my whole point for bringing it up. Thank you for hearing it out.
of course, appreciate
sure.
it. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, Ray.
Yeah.
Check you later. All right, and our next caller is
call.
Thazer. Yeah, it was a good call. We got a little arguing and stuff, and I was wrong. People like that.
Any call that calls Mike out on his shit is my
I mean, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm never gonna.
He's just never wrong. It's so not often. All right. Thazer.
Greetings.
Greetings.
I am half dead due to a flu, but other than that, I'm doing good.
Okay.
I would like to say that I called it. They presented org stuff at SitCon. I am very happy about that.
Yes.
We
all
and
are.
I'd like to discuss the Polaris, which is gonna open up into a greater discussion, because ever since the Polaris has hit the PTU, I have seen, I think, 3 or 4 threads of people complaining that they can't solo the Polaris. And
yes.
I know you guys can't say this because you're respectable people, but I'm not a respectable person. So
I'm not respectable.
I would like to ask this community, are you schizophrenic? Honestly,
I wouldn't say
are
that.
you schizophrenic? Because I'm sorry, you wanna one man a ship that's the size of 3 barns, not 1 barn, but 3 barns, and you buy it, you see it that is the size that it is, and then you complain that you can't one man it? I'm confused.
Look,
And
this is what I'm going to say about any of those sorts of threads. It is really awesome and nice for people to post threads about any sort of criticism they have about the game so the devs can see it. I want you to fully be aware those kind of threads they will ignore because it is stupid.
I was not expecting
half
it
of
to
those
go
are bait
there.
threads. Like half of those are bait threads, firstly, but like, it's just a general misunderstanding of what the game is like, even when even with a vague like description of certain things. It's just a full misunderstanding of what the game's going to be like. And to be fair, most of the time that's CIG's fault for like certain
the marketing
communications that they're
department.
giving. Exactly, right? So, but yeah, no, that honestly makes me happy. If people are genuinely mad that they can't solo the Polaris, awesome. I
Right.
hope you continue to play the game and you get past it, but like people need to have been taught this lesson at some point.
Yeah, let me tell you why this worries me, because I come from a little game called Planetside 2, if you know that game or you played it. When they introduced base building, ironically, they also introduced turrets that you could use to defend your base with.
Sorry, just quickly, Planetside 2 has base building now?
It has been having for a few years, but
I haven't played for 10 years. I gotta play it again now. This sounds sick.
Regardless, the point is, after the honeymoon period with the base building, people started building bases less and less because the design of the game is effed up anyway. So the only people left doing base building mostly were solo players, and they complained that they can't defend their base by themselves. So they added the AI modules, which allowed the turrets to shoot by themselves, which were so good that it caused any group of players that built bases to not only not allow people to man the turrets, but lock them so that no one gets in, because guess what? The AA turrets were much better.
Did they say that the turrets would be worse than a normal player?
They were. The fire rate was worse than a normal player's fire rate, but they were still better because they were
Did they say they would be worse?
I don't remember what they said in the patch notes at the time. It was years ago. But I can tell you that the fire rate of the AA turrets that were manned by AI was worse than a player firing them.
Okay. To flip it back on you, are you schizophrenic? Like you're
I might have severe schizophrenia sometimes, yes.
Okay, because I take very much offense to saying that, just so you know. And
I understand.
So but I'm going to say that we have CIG coming out and saying they will not be as good as players. Will they do that or not? We don't know. But they come down to the point where they're not saying they're going to be good. They're saying they're not going to be good. So what's your fear? What you're creating this fear inside you that doesn't need to exist. Because first off, that shit's a mile away. Second, they are already saying that they don't want them to be as good as players. And have you seen the players? Our players are fucking horrible at video games. So I don't know what the worry is, but that's with me.
First of all, how do you balance that? Right, leaving all the jokes aside, I realized that the schizophrenia remark might have been a bad taste joke, which I apologize to you for making.
To me, yes.
But how do you balance that? Because if a solo player,
have you fought against AI in the game currently?
Yes.
What don't they hit when they shoot at you?
Well, they don't really hit anything.
Exactly, because they're not supposed to. They have perfect is not the word. They have purposefully dialed them in to shoot at your chest and arms first and miss often. So the AI is stuck in this game.
Unless you're on my servers where it's always one tap to the head.
That's never happened, ever. Please.
Right. Let me ask then, what's the point of having a AI, AI hired crew if they don't do anything?
Did I say they don't do anything, or did I say that they are not as accurate as a player?
No.
Well, you compare them to current AI. Current AI.
He doesn't mean like bad server AI.
I'm comparing them to
how AI is supposed to work.
Yeah, that they're coded to hit you in the chest and the arms, which are the least punishing ones.
Let's then assume, I'm gonna pull some numbers out of my backside, but let's then assume that the AI is gonna be 50% worse than players as for gunning. Yeah. And the solo
there'll be a
player can,
cost?
yes, and there'll be a cost. But if a solo player can afford AI gunners, I can assure you that an org can afford AI gunners.
Yeah, no,
So
it is. You
we're
said it
gonna
was going to be a menace to balance. It is going to be a menace
Yeah.
to balance.
Yeah.
But there is a target, which is, yeah, of course, you want to make it so that two players multi-crewing a two-player ship, like at the very smallest level, are better than two solo players with two AI crewing their ships. That is the target, right? Because you want to incentivize multi-crew gameplay.
Yeah, but at that point, again, we're circling back onto the idea of why would I have players in my turrets if I can have those players in individual ships with AI crew?
Because
In
the
turrets.
person that you are fighting, if they are fully crewed, will ruin you guys. That's what I'm saying. That's why the target
Hopefully.
is...
Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. But once again, the target, not necessarily what they'll hit, is, let's take a javelin as an example. Realistically, probably like a crew of 20 in realistic terms for players.
Okay.
A crew of 20 javelins should be able to defeat 20 individual javelins, all solo with AI crew.
Well, I don't
That's the
see how
target.
you can. I don't see how you can make that work without making the AI gunners nigh on useless.
Yes, I agree.
The
Make them
argument
useless.
the argument I'm trying to make, and I want to make sure it's really clear, is that you are implying that something from another game is going to happen in this one when CIG is saying we don't want that to be a thing, and that's not going to be a part of our design. So what I'm telling you is your PTSD from this previous game is not necessarily what is going to happen here. I'm not saying it's not possible. And I don't think Croncy is either. Does that make sense? My argument is, did these devs come out and say that this stuff would be good? Would it be, or did they come out and say, we don't want them as good as our players? And if they're communicating that this is our goal, then what's our argument against the goal? I am not for AI crew, just to be blatantly clear here. I hate the idea of it altogether. But at the same time, I do think you're drawing at past experiences that CIG seems to understand is an issue, right? So what's the problem?
Well, that's the problem. I don't really think CIG or
Neither
the player base as a whole realizes.
Neither do I.
Neither does anyone. I can.
I'm
just bringing this up
first.
because the thing is, right? As many people said, when this stuff is introduced, it has the possibility to either make or break the game completely.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But they have already said that they recognize that. You are making a point they've already made themselves. Right? That's the point that I'm making. You're making a point they have already recognized and made themselves. Whether you believe or not they can do it, that is your feelings, and your feelings are valid. And I probably agree with your feelings. But they have already addressed it to us, and there's not much we can do other than be like, all right, prove it. And that's about it, right? You just got to put your hands up and go, the money has been given to you. You have to do right by us. And will they? They have not done right by us very well all the time, right? So my fears are your fears, but it's a weird one. We're not getting to a lot of callers today, by the way. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's
also just I'll just bring up a comment that came up in YouTube that also sort of succinctly talks about the issue just in general, which is from Striker V. It's less about solo players being too powerful and more about min-maxing the tools provided by solo players in groups to game the system.
Exactly.
And that's where the concern really comes from.
Yeah, and I hear that.
Yeah.
Same thing with having a lot of money and a lot of time breaks the whole pay for convenience argument that people have, right?
Yeah.
There's never going to be a perfect solution either. So it's like, what do you do? I will say I do not feel bad for people who bought a spaceship for thousands of dollars in a multiplayer game and wanted to fly it by themselves. I don't necessarily feel bad
Yeah.
for those people, but at the same time, I do, because they were communicated the entire time that they would be able to.
By the marketing department.
Yeah.
Well,
That's what I'm saying,
there
right?
was no marketing department when this idea first started.
Yeah.
It was literally Chris going, "I want to do everything." Yes, and that's where it all started, and they were stuck.
Yeah,
to that.
but to bring a point to that, and actually be on the defense of the solo players who bought these ships, they were never showed in the promotional videos and whatnot how the ship is actually supposed to be operated. They only were showed cool videos of big ship destroying things, right? So
Well, yeah,
maybe
the videos aren't like the videos are just lore stuff. I don't really think that's much of an argument or anything.
The Connie video of them exploring a planet and finding a new alien race. And
it's just lore stuff. 90% of the ads are literal in-universe ads, as in like ads that would play in universe. So I don't think that's I just don't think that's a relevant point really at all.
It kind of is.
I don't know.
It's meant for us to, and it creates this idea in your head that you will be able to do that thing one day, and you will not be able to.
Yeah.
But
all I want to say is that if they actually added some sort of footage of how the ship operates on the inside as well, maybe people would think twice before buying a ship like that. Right? That's my point.
They would have to know, and we don't even have engineering yet. So.
Yeah.
But
one day the marketing department
we do have lots of callers, and I don't. Yeah, we harped on this for a while. Okay.
That was about it. Yeah.
I share your fears, just to be clear. Just in a different way.
I do appreciate that. I just hope CAG shares those fears as well.
They did. I mean, they communicated it. Yep. We'll see if they deliver on share. That's the thing. It's the delivery, not what they say. All right, Thazer, be good, brother.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
See ya.
Not a bad call. I don't want to. Yeah, it was not a bad call. It was a very good call. I just wanted to make it clear that they seem to recognize that problem, right? It just took me a while to get there, but Space, welcome.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Monkey.
Hey.
First time call?
Sorry, say it again.
First time caller?
Don't worry.
First time caller. Yeah, probably not. I have some remarks to the space stations, because when I saw them at the Citizencon, I was also worried about the performance of the server. And as far as I remember, the station, the asset itself, might not be the issue. I think the AIs running around them might be the harder issue, because that, as far as I remember, puts more strain on the server than just the asset itself. So as long 100%. As you don't have so many AI running around on your space station, it shouldn't be that great of an issue. Probably, but that's my assumption. I don't know.
It was definitely causing my low frame rates in Pyro playtests earlier, for sure.
Yeah.
Which the AI were working better, so we were getting better AI at the cost of frame rate.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, so the AI were working better, but there were also like hundreds of them under the ground and stuff like that. That's what I'm talking about. There were way more than there should have been, and that's why our frame rates were low. But the AI seem to be functioning separate of the server a lot more now. They're a lot more dialed in.
They're all talking.
Yeah, they are talking a lot.
They even stated that they had some issues in the arena commander because there was AI in the stations that were in that. So that's probably the bigger issue, not the space station itself.
Yep.
And I think to clarify the point with the connections between the stations, they said you can put the flight deck as an add-on underneath your station, and as far as I remember, there were major hard points also on that add-on, so you could potentially put also a connection to another space station on there. But that's as far as I remember.
Yeah.
To the Polaris, I'm pretty impressed visually. I mean, I think they did a great job with the visuals. I just think that the torpedoes at the moment are too easy to kill, because we tested it out yesterday a bit, and the point defense systems, I mean, even if you shoot like 4 torpedoes at once, which you can do, which is pretty awesome, but they get shut down pretty easily. So maybe they need to make them a little bit more durable in a fight. Otherwise, it's pretty boring. You're like, I shoot, then I shoot them down, and then you shoot, and then nothing really happens.
It's always been the problem with missiles. They're either too good or they're not good enough. And it's been one of the most impossible things for them to balance.
And for reference for the PDCs being like, really good at taking down stuff, they're a completely new weapon type. So they're going to be completely unbalanced both ways. Like they'll get nerfed too far over the next couple of weeks as well. So it's going to take a really long time for them to dial in.
Yeah. And to the caller who had issues with the docking, my experience is that the docking, since you have 2 docking ports, the right side is possible, not the left side, which is unusual because the Hull C on all the other ships work on the left side. But you have to turn around the Polaris to dock. That's at least my experience. So maybe that helps him to get this docking stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I think the big topic for me this week was the SCL about the the suits and the stuff, because I have not seen it completely, but I read a comment about the detail which I'm a bit worried about, where they said, yeah, you can basically do everything in a suit, but with the other suit you can just do it better. And this is a little bit found a bit weird for me, because if you look at MMOs, you have basically areas where you can't go at the beginning because it's like end game or mid game stuff.
You just get one shot.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't have scenarios where this is like, I mean, you can have scenarios where you can just go and maybe experience this for some seconds, but I rather would like to have a situation where I cannot go until I upgraded my suit to, I don't know, tier 3. Like example, what was it, Castra with this bullseye planet, which is very toxic. So why should I be able to go there right away with just 1 level suit? Maybe I just need an upgrade to it, because it gives them more value and it feels more weighty, and it gives me another goal to go there, because they have an area where I cannot go. It's like, oh, I need to grind a bit to get there, and this motivates me. I don't know how it is for you, but for me this is more motivating, just to get locked out to something at the beginning and work my ass to it.
Yes.
Rather than being able to.
I love that about games.
While you're not getting locked out with like the implication, that you would be able to do everything, but you just can't do stuff well necessarily. I think that's still fine. Like you have a situation, let's say you've got a toxic planet that you need like a pretty decent suit with toxic protection or whatever. At tier 1, if that lets you only be there for 20 minutes, right? That might not be enough to do what you want to do. When you then go to upgrade it, oh sweet, I can be here for an hour now. Now I can make some real money, and so on. They still have those avenues. You're just not being fully locked out, but that doesn't mean you're not being locked out of certain content, if that makes sense.
Like, remember old rock mining if you didn't have the hot suit?
Yeah.
I think that's a good example of that. I still love I still prefer the lock me out, please. But if you get to that point, then especially when it comes to damage and DPS and damage mitigation, then you end up having situations where that happens to players versus players as well. And it's a slippery slope. So it was nice to see like the crafting images showing that like a tier 2 or a tier 3, or they were only upping what appeared to be not a 100%, 200. We're not.
Yeah, they showed a tier 1 pistol with a material upgrade, right? It had good material, and I think it was 3% fire rate.
Yeah,
and like 5% durability or something.
It wasn't whatever it was. It wasn't insane.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you think that it would feel a bit better to not have those little upgrades with the crafting instead of having like more powerful upgrades? Because I just saw a video about the Ashes of Creation where a guy said, I feel like the power difference between the previous level I had. So you really feel how you get more powerful. And I think they have to figure it out, but just having like slight upgrades, I don't know if it will cut it for most of the MMO crowd players.
Yeah, it's tough. Like I know Croncy has played Eve, and a lot of the upgrades are quite slight at the beginning, or even throughout the process.
Well, even at the end, right? Like
you're getting like 5% bonuses.
Exactly, and that's what I was going to bring up, because like even then, that's so impactful, because even the MMO players, they do want to eke out every single percentage, every single tenth of a percentage that they can to get themselves into the absolute peak, right? In Eve, as the example, there are like certain faction upgrades that are really, really rare, crazy expensive, and are like 1 to 2% better than the cheap option.
Yeah, but then there's also going from
exist.
Tech 1 to Tech 2, which is like, boom, my world just
that is one
exploded,
big upgrade.
right? So if there's a combination of what you're saying, Space, I think that it can work, but it just is that combination a ship, a different ship? Like
I was going to say, is that a ship
prospector
choice,
to a mole?
Right? Yeah.
And do we get that feeling in our armor or our weapons? I would like to feel that feeling. And because again, what if you were to upgrade your ship not today anymore, because things have changed a little bit, but if you were to upgrade your ship last year, you bought, not upgrade to a new ship, but you bought it doesn't matter, a Gladius, what would you change on the components? You wouldn't change the coolers because it doesn't matter. You wouldn't change all the weapons, some of them. But the first thing you would do, almost certainly, is change the quantum drive, because it's the one that you felt the most different. And then you would probably change the shields, right? Because those actually have a feel as well. And then the weapons. That would probably be the order that I would do it in if I was limited on money. And
maybe it's a good mixture of both, because when you said environments, I think for stuff you can go to, like maybe like radiation environment, all the stuff, there needs to be like this powerful stuff, but this gets really hard if you fight against other players. Then the changes need to be small and incremental, because otherwise it's not pay to win, but I mean it's really, really unfair then if noobs get pawned, let's say it this way.
I was going to mention, maybe the way that CIG can do that one feeling of a big difference is through reputation, through quest lines that everyone can do. So it's like, if you lose in a PvP situation because I've now got a 30% better ship, which is a pretty big jump, right?
Yeah.
But that's something that you can go do in like a day of quest lines. That feels way better, right? So they could do it that way, then make the smaller differences, crafting related, or like the really, really rare drop type stuff.
Wow, I'm a G. This is the 5-hour video, and I scrolled immediately to it. Let's not forget this from the broadcast. There was a massive difference. Here you go. In recoil on this weapon, right? There was a massive difference in the spool time on. Yeah, these are significant feelings.
Yeah. So maybe it's okay, but
it's hard to say
because
they haven't done it. It's like, this is the best example that they've given for what they want. Is it feel this felt sort of different as well. It was hard to tell with this one, but these three examples are telling you what their intentions are, and I'm cool with what they're sharing, what their intentions are. They'll dial in the numbers, of course, but and he seems pretty happy with how people felt about it.
Yeah, I think with that in mind, I think it's mostly NC fans, but it's going to be, your concern is probably going to be something that we will want to bring up as we get closer to this.
Yes.
Just to see how it goes. Yeah.
But it's like, you got to say it now, so it's so they recognize it. Like, it can't just be little increments to get there. And was that tier 1 to the end? I think that was tier 1 to the end. So are you going to feel that very lightly throughout the process? But then at the end, it's like, whoa, I'm spooling up really quick or whatever. But you also have to remember, you do not want this to create an unbalanced PvP experience as well, because that's super duper important. So it's this real tough balance that they're going to have to figure out and make sure they get right. Because you also want to create an experience where, like, I was unable to kill the Valakar, then I was able to kill the Valakar, then I was able to kill the Valakar efficiently, right?
Yeah.
And then that's the MMO experience. That right there is how I would describe the MMO experience for me. I'm not able to do it. I'm able to do it, and then I'm able to grind it, right? And that's it for me. And if they can achieve that while balancing their PvP experiences, then we'll be in a pretty good place, I think.
Who would have thought a game like Star Citizen would be hard to balance? Crazy.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. They made it too hard. Made it too hard.
Oh, that's basically it. I would rather at the end share my favorite moment of the week. I don't know if you saw Burke's stream when he pulled out the Polaris.
I missed everything, but you can explain it.
So what happened is he pulled it out. He opened the hangar door. He lifted it a bit, I guess, and then he went to the turret for the torpedoes. And he said, "Yeah, I'm firing. I'm firing." He fired a torpedo inside the hangar. It blasted to the wall, lifted up the Polaris a bit out of the hangar, and then he got Primestead 2 for grievous harm of another player. And I wonder what the other guy maybe thought in his hangar.
Just hanging out in a cyclone in his little hangar.
Get blasted out of nowhere by the spacesuit with not understanding what happened. I laughed my ass off. It was so good.
That does sound funny.
Wave ones or like new stuff in PTUs when people just start sciencing is always funny.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could, and then it always just, what is it? Like Star Citizen clip of the day. It just always ends up being on that YouTube channel. There's always some goofy, funny stuff on there.
I bet
it always comes out of PTUs.
This week.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right, that's it for me. Thanks for having me, as always.
Cheers, as always, Space Monkey. We love having you.
See you next time.
Yeah, man.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Sounds good.
All right, I'm going to say I have to call it. I got the text that it's time. But what we need to do, and I want to apologize personally, because this is straight up on me. Real life things are taking precedent over everything. And I think we talked a little bit about it last week. It's more significant now than it's ever been. And we need to do things. We're coming up to American Thanksgiving and things like Canadian Thanksgiving now that there's Canadian part of the company. I feel like from this point forward, the content that they're going to be pushing out, especially after they deliver 24.3, is going to ramp down quite a bit. I think it's probably time for like an all-caller episode, Q&A, anything you guys want type of thing. And like make it up to you that way, since we've been not very caller heavy the last couple of weeks. And it's on me for one, and it's on Cutlet for the other one. But yeah, I thought Cutlet's episode was really good, but yeah, unfortunately I can't get to you guys today, and that's on me, and I want to apologize personally for that. So
but we do appreciate you guys coming into the waiting room, and
and how much you enjoy the show. Like I don't think you understand how bad I feel right now at the moment. I feel horrible. I want to get to everybody every time.
Just type in my chat everything you want to say, and I'll just ignore it there. It's fine.
Or we just straight up put a timer on people. Like, have you ever watched that show Kill Tony? Like the cat meows, and then it's like you got to get off the stage, kind of thing.
I was gonna say for the most part in my head, I've always been doing 5-minute timers, but we just had a lot of stuff to talk about today.
Yeah, and then we got into like good conversation with people, and it was just a mess. Yeah. So I'm not all entirely here, but I think we literally need to put like a timer on the screen. Be like, you got 5 minutes. That's it.
Yep.
And longer ATCs are not really an option. It's like 2 a.m. for Croncy, and I have a life.
That's 4 a.m. Thank you, Mike.
There you go. 4 a.m. Like, come on, guys. All right, be reasonable here, okay? If we keep people short, people will stick to the points and not go all crazy either. And when we've done that, it's worked really well. So.
And if there's one thing Mike knows about, it's being short. Now, if you want to subscribe to the Answer
Wait till you actually see me.
Please subscribe, guys.
You really
thank you very much
short.
for watching. Like the video if you liked it. And of course, we'll see you guys next week where we're going to answer the call.
Bye, everybody.